bare passing mark is a 4, or a bare failure when it's a 3 and you're in doubt, or what is good and not good. Well, okay. The first exercise was the boat floated away and vanished in the horizon. Well, as a matter of fact, this was a little bit, in some cases, a little bit confusing, because as a matter of fact, you had to focus on the first clause, on the boat floated away and vanished in the horizon. You could have analyzed it as well, but if you did, it's a different clause. Do you understand? So many of you, one of the common mistakes was that you spoke about the horizon as the ground, right? But it's not the ground of floated away. Do you understand? I'm going to explain that. So the boat floated away and vanished in the horizon. In the case of the first motion event, the boat floated away, the ground, in fact, has been omitted because it floated away on the water, on the lake, on whatever it was, but it didn't float away on the horizon. Do you understand what I mean? So you have
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
Can we say that there the ground is the water or the ocean, the sea or whatever?
Yes. In the case of, we are going to read some samples of some students that said that, and that was correct.
Okay.
So if we concentrate on the boat floated away, the ground has been omitted, and the horizon it would be the ground of vanished, which in fact we are not going to analyze as such because it's not a motion verb that indicates translational motion, that indicates a trajectory. It means disappear. Do you understand why we are not going to concentrate on it? Can you enlarge it a bit, Karen, so that I can see better? It says, in this first case, which would be an example of a failure, it says, in both cases, the figure, the boat, el bote, that is correct, that is the figure, and the ground is, well, in the horizon. I have just explained why not. While, then it says, while in English, motion and manner are conflated in the verb floated and the satellite away, while in, there shouldn't be, let me see. While in English, motion and manner are conflated in the verb floated and the satellite away encodes path. Path should be in capital letters. I omitted correcting that, but pay attention. This is the train. This is use of meta language. Motion, manner, path should be spelled with a capital letter. Okay. So encodes path. In Spanish, se alejó, and this is another common mistake. If there is a pronominal verb, you should include the particle se. You should either include se alejó or speak about the verb alejarse, but you should not speak about the verb alejar or alejó because it's not the same. Alejar is a transitive verb. You could say something like, alejó la mano del fuego, which is not the same as alejarse. It's not exactly the same. Alejarse is an intransitive verb, right, that denotes inherent directionality. So in the case of pronominal verbs, you should include the particle. So se alejó as a verb conflates motion and path, yes, while flotando indicates manner. Then the student wrote, this is a case of non-correspondence since each language behaves according to its typology. Spanish as a verb frame language and English as a satellite frame one. And my comment was too vague. And many of you have included this comment. This is something, I mean, it's like a kind of, let's say, ready-made phrase or explanation that doesn't tell us much about this example. So you could say that, but then you should go back to the example and summarize and repeat why it is that Spanish is behaving as a verb frame language. For example, because of the use of the verb alejarse, which conflates motion and path. You repeat that, okay? So, in this case, as you can see, the analysis is very short, it's incomplete, it lacks many details. That's why it's a failure. If you go to the second one, nos tomó 2 horas bordear el Palacio de Buckingham. It took us almost 2 hours to walk around Buckingham Palace. In this case, what the student includes in the first part is irrelevant to this analysis, right? I mean, speaking about the subject of the sentence, right? It's not focusing on what we should focus. For example, focusing on nos tomó tantas horas, it took us, that is part of a type of, no es una perífrasis, nos tomó 2 horas, bueno, ahora no me va a salir el nombre, but in fact, you had to concentrate on the verb walk and bordear, ¿ok? Es una locución verbal. Esto me toma tanto tiempo. Es una locución verbal que no es el foco de atención en este caso. En este caso, el foco de atención es el movimiento. Es parte de la oración, sí, pero no había que analizarlo. Hay que concentrarse en what you have to concentrate, or you have to concentrate on walk, and you have to concentrate on bordear. Well, then it says, nevertheless, another instance of motion, capital letter motion event, can be analyzed. Bordear a pie and walk around. Regarding this last extract, more than an extract, this is, I should have pointed that out, it's a motion event. It can be said that the verb in the Spanish version conflates motion and path. Bordear indicates movement and trajectory around the palace. That's okay. While in English, the verb shows. Motion, shows is not the best. Again, I should have pointed that out. This is use of meta language. Is the verb encodes or expresses motion in capital letter and manner. If you can, Karen, you could edit that. You cross out shows, you put encodes, motion and manner, capital letters. Walk. Lastly, a pie is the one element that encodes. Again, here there's a lot of imprecision as regards the use of mental language. It's inaccurate. So more than indicates, encodes, expresses, manner, and path is lexicalized in the English sat prep. In this case, around is a sat prep because of the presence of the ground Buckingham Palace. Okay? The student wrote in the one element, and my comment was, what type of element? He or she should have said the adverbial or the adjunct a pie. It's an adverbial, it's an adjunct, then between brackets, you can clarify that it's a prepositional phrase. But the first thing you have to say is that it is an adverbial or adjunct. Something else I want to say, we are going to have a look at all the samples I have marked, but something else I would like to say is that I want you to bear in mind what I have said about, and what the student says about walk, that walk conflates motion and manner, and we have accepted that. What I want to say is that not in all cases there is like disagreement as regards whether walk conflates motion and manner or not. I think that it depends on the case. And in this case, walk around Buckingham Palace, in my opinion, the verb conflates motion and manner, and I agree with the students. almost all of you have said that, because you could have run around. For example, you could say, we ran around Buckingham Palace, we walked around. We could have said, we cycled around Buckingham Palace, and then in the translations it would have been, lo bordeamos a pie, lo bordeamos trotando, lo bordeamos en bici, right? So I think that I agree that in this case, walk conflates motion and manner as opposed to run, jog, cycle, drove. We drove around Buckingham Palace. There are other cases, and at the end of this class, I will show you, in which we could say that walk does not, it's not that does not conflate manner or encode manner, but not in a very explicit way. Okay, let's go to another sample. Is there any question as regards this sample? Or rather, I will go over all the samples and you can take down notes and you can ask me whatever you want. So remember, you should write in capital letters whenever you speak about the meaning components that are expressed. The meaning components are spelled in capital letters. Satellite is not a meaning component. Satellite is a surface element, so you spell it in small letters. But path, motion, manner are spelled in capital letters. Well, let's go to this second one. In both versions, there is an instance of a motion event. Both sentences encode a proposition that is non-agentive, since the figure in each sentence, the boat, el barco, is the agent. It says, is the agent the figure? You have to be careful. If you say that it's a non-agentive proposition, then you cannot speak of an agent, right? So you speak simply of a figure. You speak, the choices are agentive proposition, self-agentive, and non-agentive. When the proposition is self-agentive, the figure is an agent. But you cannot say that in a proposition that is non-agentive, the figure is an agent. No. Do you understand? So figure is not always synonymous with agent. Figure is synonymous with agent, let's say, if the proposition is self-agentive. Is that clear? Right. Yes. Okay, great. An inanimate object, so it does not move willingly. The ground goal is encoded in the noun phrase, the horizon. Well, same comment as in the previous case. The ground has been omitted, the water, because we are speaking about floated away on the water, right? It could have been, if someone is in doubt, we could think of a spaceship, for example, or a satellite that is floating in the universe, let's say. Do you understand? Floated, you could speak of a balloon that floated away in the sky. If you say the balloon floated away and disappeared, what you mean is floated away in the sky, in the air. Do you understand? So here is the water. In the English version, the meaning components of motion and manner conflate in the verb root float. This verb in combination, and what this student wrote is good, in this part of the analysis. This verb in combination with the satellite away is a lexical tablet that indicates trajectory and also has a more basic counterpart. What's my comment there? Okay, what do you mean? What do you mean by saying that it has a more basic counterpart? It's okay, but I would like to make sure that you know what it means, that float has a more basic counterpart. Do you understand that? Who knows what that means and would like to tell us? Do you understand?
That it can be just float without movement. That it can imply movement whenever you have a satellite, but if you just say
Not
floating,
without more than movement or motion. It's not that float does not encode motion or movement. Is that it does not encode what
Trajectory.
yeah,
trajectory. Exactly.
It's a
Path.
self-contained verb.
It's not a self-contained verb. Somebody wrote that. It's not exactly a self-contained verb. It's a verb that encodes self-contained motion. Do you understand? You don't speak, that is terminology, meta language. You don't speak of a self-contained verb. You speak of a verb that encodes self-contained motion. Float in itself encodes self-contained motion. Accompanied or in combination with a satellite, it will also encode path. And from that point of view, or in that case, you will say it's a case of a lexical doublet. Is it clear to everybody? Yes? Can I go
Yes.
on? Okay. As English is a satellite-framed language, path, very good, this student spelled path with capital letters. Path is lexicalized independently. I put it between brackets because you needn't say, it's not wrong, but you needn't explain that path is lexicalized independently. I mean, you simply say path is lexicalized in the one-dimensional path phrase away. And what the student wrote here is very good, remembering that now this person added what we have studied in which of the authors we have been reading. Who speaks of one-dimensional and two-dimensional path phrases?
ask.
Ask. Very good. So path is lexicalized in the one-dimensional path phrase away, which forms a verb complex together with the motion verb. And I have deleted, introduces the ground nominal, the horizon. Why? Because which is the ground nominal here?
The water.
Yes, it has been omitted. Karen, in this case, you shouldn't, it's okay, motion verb with small letters. We use it, we spell it in capital letters when motion, manner, path, cause represent a semantic entity. Do you understand? Satellite motion verbs are surface, it's the name of surface entities. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good. Wait. So I got lost. So we have crossed that out. And then it says, as motion, manner, or path are encoded in the verb complex. A ver, volvamos. Motion, manner. Me parece que está bien eso, a ver. Déjenme ver. Motion is not a that is analyzed from the point. Sí, ya sé por qué lo taché. Volvamos, sí, no, lo corregí bien. Dice, motion, manner, as motion, manner, and path are encoded in the verb complex. That's true that motion, manner, and path are encoded in the verb complex. That's okay. But what it's not okay is saying that they are backgrounded because of the comment I made. We speak of backgrounding and foregrounding of semantic entities when the semantic entities involved are manner, path, cause, but not motion. We never say that motion has been backgrounded. Is that clear? So what this student wrote, that they are encoded, and more than encoded would be they are conflated. This you can correct, Karen. Motion, manner, and path are conflated in the verb complex because it's more than one meaning. We cannot say what is not exact is saying that they are backgrounded. Is that clear? Because motion, we never say that motion is backgrounded or foregrounded. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Wait, where am I? There, this sentence illustrates the English typology of the lexicalization of motion events. In the Spanish version, the verb of inherent directionality, alejarse, remember if it's a pronominal verb, you should include the particle, and I added between brackets, inherent directionality, you're right, but what the type of information you should include so that we, as teachers, make sure that you know what you're speaking about is something like this. In this case, alejarse is a verb of inherent directionality because it indicates movement, let's say, away from a point. In general, or when in my presentation, and I think it's Sloving, when they speak of verbs of inherent directionality, Sloving speaks of come and go, and he says, because the direction indicated or encoded is away from the speaker, towards the speaker or away from the speaker. In the case of alejarse, is not exactly away from a speaker. It's away from a certain point, porque uno puede decir, no sé, el policía se alejó, vino, me preguntó una cosa y se alejó, that would be away from the speaker. But if I say, se alejó de del destacamento policial, it's not away from the speaker, it's away from a certain point. Is it clear? You just say yes or not, and I go on. Well, where away from a point. Conflates motion and path, since Spanish is a verb frame language, and thus this example clearly represents the Spanish typology. My comment was not exact. Why? Because it's not that the verb of inherent directionality conflates motion and path because Spanish is a verb frame language. No, it conflates motion and path as is, you could have said, as it is typical of Spanish, as it is typical in Spanish, which is a verb frame language. Not because Spanish is a verb frame language, the verb is of inherent directionality. Do you understand? Is it clear? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then it says, wait, would be redundant. Bueno, gracias. In this example, manner has not been, the student wrote translated. That is a problem of meta language. Manner is not that manner has not been translated. Manner has not been expressed. As it would be redundant, the student wrote, manner has not been expressed, as it would be redundant, and then he or she said, to say, el barco se alejó flotando, since it is well known that boats float. That's okay, but it's better or more precise if you said something like, as it would be redundant in Spanish, so in Spanish it would be redundant to say se alejó flotando, due to the features typical of its typology. To say se alejó flotando, and then you could add between brackets, since it is well known that boats float, ¿ok? Y ahora viene de vuelta el disquito. Yo contesto, Valentina, un segundo. This is a case of non-correspondence regarding the lexicalization of motion events, since each language behaves according ta. You have to be more precise and say, in this case, each language behaves according to its typology, because in Spanish we can see an instance of a verb that conflates motion and path, while in English, y medio que repiten un poco, pero a lo que nos interesa es ver que no están diciendo algo de memoria, sino que lo ven en el ejemplo. Then the student wrote, path is encoded in the satellite away, and in English, and in the verb alejarse in Spanish. Moreover, debería haber habido una coma después de alejarse porque está omitido. Moreover, There is no correspondence in terms of lexicalization of manner since it is backgrounded in English and it has not been lexicalized in Spanish. That's okay.
Profe,
Sí,
tengo una duda. Entonces, ¿por qué si ella más abajo, o ella o él más abajo especifica por qué no hay correspondencia? ¿Por qué entonces les marcó como el discurso repetido ahí arriba? Si después como que amplía.
sí, ahí tenés razón que después amplía. Déjame que ver si dice todo. Sí, en este caso me equivoqué yo. Era como que muchos venían así y después no decían nada. En este caso la persona amplió, entonces no estaría mal. A ver,
Ok.
Valentina había dicho, había alguien que me... Could we say manner has not been... Sí, ahí está. Después lo dice el alumno o la alumna. Manner has been not, but not, we don't speak of translation. Manner is not lexicalized is okay, but not, I objected, manner has not been translated as, because of the use of terminology, not because the concept is totally wrong. Is it clear? We say manner has not been foregrounded, expressed, denoted, but not translated. Okay, good. And this is a bare passing. It passes, but it wouldn't get a very high mark. Okay, let's go to the second one.
Profe, perdón, tengo una pregunta con el ejemplo anterior.
Sí.
¿Podría repetir por qué, cuál es la respuesta que le gustaría cuando decimos que un verb is of inherent directionality?
Lo que me gustaría, no es lo que me gustaría, porque no
Bueno,
es lo que me gusta a mí. Lo que sería mejor para ustedes es que explicaran por qué. Porque si bien está bien que sea of inherent directionality, fíjate que yo no pongo cruz, ni tacho, ni nada, pongo algo entre paréntesis para que quede mejor y más completo. Away from a point, en este caso. O away from the coast, sería acá. O si es otro caso, dirías towards the speaker, or away from the speaker. Que me digan por qué dicen que se entiende la dirección. ¿Entendés, Abigail?
sí. Muchas gracias.
No, de nada. Okay, let's see. This other one. Nos tomó casi 2 horas. Walk around y caminar. Perdón, y bordear a pie. In both versions, there is an instance of a motion event. Both sentences encode a proposition that is self-agentive, since the figure in each sentence as, yo le pongo we, ¿por qué? Because the figure should be expressed by means of a subject pronoun. Do you understand? Not an object pronoun. So of course you understand that it is we because you can infer it from the us. So it's not wrong to say us, but it is better to write between brackets we, as this student has done in a way with the nosotros. Nosotros no está escrito ahí. Dice, nos tomó casi 2 horas, pero ¿a quién le va a tomar? A nosotros. So it is understood that it is nosotros bordeamos el palacio. Entonces, cuando hablan de una figure, you cannot say that the figure is us. Después vamos a ver en otro sample que hay alguien que dice that the figure is nos. No, no es nos. Is we infer it's nosotros, the omitted subject. Is that clear? So, us, we, and nosotros in Spanish. Is the agent, in this case, the figure is an agent, it's okay, that can move willingly. The ground medium, very good, the ground is medium in this case, in both sentences is encoded in the noun phrase, el Palacio de Buckingham, no dice de Buckingham Palace, it's Buckingham Palace, without the. In the English version, the meaning components of motion and manner, very good, because they are meaning components, they are spelled in capital letters, motion and manner, conflate in the verb root walk. Y acá de vuelta les digo, tengan presente que ya les voy a mostrar un ejemplo donde diríamos que walk does not conflate motion and manner. But in this example, it is very clear that it conflates motion and manner because of what I said before, because we could have said that we drove around the palace, or cycled around the palace, or jogged around the palace, but we decided to walk. As English is a satellite frame language, path is lexicalized independently in the one-dimensional sat prep around. Very good. It's a one-dimensional sat prep. Why is it a one-dimensional sat prep? Because the movement occurs along the same area, let's say, that is the palace, around the palace. There are not two different dimensions, but only one dimension. And since it is in sister relation to the verb root walk, they form a verb complex. As motion, manner, and path are encoded in the verb complex, they are backgrounded. That's okay. Motion.
Sí, pero
no,
lo mismo que en el caso anterior.
el mismo error
Motion.
anterior. Motion,
Sí.
not motion. Only as manner and path, that are motion, yes. As manner and path are encoded, they are backgrounded. Y ya saben por qué motion no. This sentence illustrates the English typology of the lexicalization of motion events. In the Spanish version, the verb bordear conflates motion and path. Since Spanish is a verb frame language, and thus, y ahí explica, this example clearly represents the Spanish typology. Otra cosa que pueden hacer para que no quede disquito, digamos que repito, es meter eso apenas terminan de hacer el análisis. Manner has been lexicalized in the prepositional phrase a pie, so we can say that manner has been foregrounded. Sería mejor que dijeran, está bien esto, pero sería mejor decir, manner has been lexicalized in the adverbial a pie, realized by means of a prepositional phrase. Because whenever you refer, when you say in which clause element, a meaning component has been realized, you need a clause element, not a structural element. So it has been realized in an adverbial. Okay, so we can say that manner has been foregrounded. This is a case of non-correspondence.
Profe, can you repeat, please? Lexicalized in the adverbial, realized?
Realized by a prepositional phrase.
Okay.
This is a case of since in the English version, manner con mayúscula, manner is backgrounded in the verb complex, and in the Spanish version, it is foregrounded in the prepositional phrase. Bueno, es lo mismo, no hace falta que lo cambies ahora. In the adverbial or in the adjunct, a pie. Okay? Furthermore, there is no correspondence regarding the lexicalization of motion events, since path is encoded in a verb in Spanish and in a satellite in English. Okay? Ven como acá explica, la o el estudiante explica por qué hay correspondence, ¿sí? Vamos a ver un sample, a ver si es este. Hay otro sample donde the student contradicts himself or herself. I want to show that, and then we will move on to a different case. A ver si es este. No, this is a case, this is not the case, but anyway, there are two students, and I'm sure there were more, that chose to translate. The boat floated away and vanished in the horizon by means of el bote se alejó flotando y desapareció en el horizonte. And my comment was that el bote se alejó flotando is not the best choice of translation. I cannot say that the translation is bad. It's not bad, but it's not the most typical one of Spanish. Not the best translation, but not the most typical realization in Spanish. Because in Spanish, what would be typical because of the typology of our language is to simply say, el bote se alejó y desapareció en el horizonte. Do you understand that? Okay. No, let's have a look at another sample. I think that it's another sample I want to. A ver si es este. Móstrame la segunda parte, quiero ver el del palacio. ¿Está borrado? Ah, a ver, creo que es esta. A ver, baja un poco que quiero ver si dice algo de contradiction. Vuelve. No veo. No,
¿Por qué ahí el verbo bordear no es of inherent directionality?
espera, ya te digo. De esto lo único que voy a querer comentar es nuevamente que tengan cuidado cuando está omitido el sujeto con el tema de the figure. The figure is nosotros and we. And be careful with other types of mistakes, like is encoded in the particles. No, nos is not a particle, right? It's a pronoun, an enclitic pronoun. Julieta, you asked why it's not a border of inherent directionality, because in
Sí.
general, inherent words, but not around, okay? So verbs of inherent directionality in general come, go in English, right? And in Spanish, there could be more, pero tiene que haber esta idea de es o se aleja o se acerca, okay? That would be the reason.
Ok, gracias.
De nada. A ver, busquemos otra sample, a ver si encuentro la que dice que es contradictorio. A ver si es esta. Ah, sí, es esta. Dale, veamos este. Este es el último que vamos a ver. Second. Okay, it says, both propositions in Spanish and English are self-agentive. That's okay. The agents are realized, again, by the pronouns. No es exactamente nos, it would be nosotros, and we, which are the figures. A ver, que creo que puse un comentario para nos o no. By the omitted subject pronoun nosotros, okay? That would be more precise. The grounds are the noun phrase, el Palacio de Buckingham and Buckingham Palace. In Spanish, the verb bordear conflates the meaning components of motion and path, and the noun phrase, el Palacio de Buckingham, is a one-dimensional path phrase since it represents the location in which or where the figure moves. So far, that's perfect. Do you all agree? So the student has explained very well why it is a one-dimensional path phrase. Do you all agree? Then it says the meaning component of manner is foregrounded in the prepositional phrase. Bueno, lo mismo sería in the adjunct, no hace falta que lo corrijas. In the adjunct, realized by means of a prepositional phrase, a pie, which functions, no, nada, lo puso bien acá. In the prepositional phrase, a pie, which functions as an adverbial. Excellent. In English, the verb complex, walking around, is made up of the verb root, walking, and the sat prep, it's a sat prep, not simply a satellite, around, which is in sister relation with the verb root. Y acá viene un poquito el lío. The verb root is a lexical doublet, since it conflates the meaning components of motion and manner, and the satellite encodes the meaning of path. It is not well explained. So the verb root is a lexical doublet because it is in combination with, we will say it is a lexical doublet because it is combined with a satellite. No está bien expresado, ¿ok? The path phrase, y acá hay otro error que a veces está bueno, me gusta analizar los errores para que vean, no los vayan a cometer de nuevo. The path phrase around Buckingham Palace is stylic since it predicates the end of the path. Hay dos errores acá. El primero, the path phrase around Buckingham Palace. What is the mistake there? Can you realize? why is that a mistake? To say that around Buckingham Palace is a path phrase.
La path phrase no sería solamente around y el otro sería el
Exactly.
ground.
Exactamente. Una path phrase is only into. Into is a telic path phrase. Along is a one-dimensional path phrase. It's only the satellite. You
Yo
cannot
estimo que ahí se habrán equivocado porque, bueno, como dice phrase, bueno, uno incluye, obviamente,
Claro, pero
pero sí, solamente es la preposición.
solamente es el satélite, decir satélite. Sat prep. Only the sat prep, okay? But then the student says, the path phrase around, ponele que esto, que lo hubiera puesto hasta ahí, que esto estaría bien. The path phrase around is telic, since it predicates the end path location of the figure we. Contradictory with what you said before. Why do I say that this student is contradicting himself or herself? By saying that it is telic. Volveles a mostrar, Karen, lo que escribió el alumno o la alumna más arriba y a ver si se dan cuenta por qué está contradictory.
Because they said it was one-dimensional.
Exactly. This person, this student, had said that it was a one-dimensional path phrase. And not only that, he or she did it very well, explaining that it's a one-dimensional path phrase since it represents the location where the figure moves. That was perfect. So it's only one location. It's only the palace. There are not two locations. It's not she swam into the cave. She was outside the cave and she ended up inside the cave. It walked around, he or she walked around the palace, scroll down. I understand why the student got confused, but you have to be careful. I mean, you have to reread what you have said so that you can detect that there is a contradiction, sorry. Because the student then explained, the path phrase, telic, since it predicates the end path of the figure, although it can be inferred that the figure ends up in the same place. This person thought of this, that the walker started walking at one point all around the castle and ended up at the same place. But it's always around the castle. It's not from the castle to somewhere else. So it's one-dimensional. One-dimensional is not telic. Telic is a synonym of two-dimensional. Is that clear? Then it says, well, this is a case of non-correspondence because Spanish behaves as a verb frame language, blah. At the end, it says, in Spanish, the trajectory of the figure is represented by means of a one-dimensional path phrase. Y ahí vuelve a lo que, so if it's expressed by means of a one-dimensional path phrase in Spanish, whereas in English, a telic path phrase predicates the end location of the figure. So that means that that is a contradiction, because saying that we are speaking about a one dimension and not two dimensions cannot be a case of correspondence. They should be correspondent, because if you are speaking about the meaning components, and the meaning components are expressed in the same way, that is correspondence. ¿Se entiende? Entonces, esta persona tiene partes del análisis que están muy buenos, ¿eh? Como la primera parte, es la que mejor, o el que mejor explica por qué es one dimensional. Venía bárbaro. Y tiene buenos chunks, como ven, donde está todo bien. Pero ¿por qué es un failure? Es un failure porque precisamente si vos haces todo un análisis que está bueno y después te contradecís, es peor que haber hecho un análisis más o menos. Are you following me? Do you understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, and now, before we finish, I would like Karen, please. Karen, have you been able to do what I asked you to do? If not, you simply share the screen with the last document I sent, the one about the bear. Excellent, that one. Well, this, I'm going to show you the text we used in the last exam in July. And well, because I want you to practice, and one of the reasons is because I want to show you why in this case we would say that caminar does not conflate motion and manner. Valentina Torres, can you read the text in English?
Yes, sure. Yes, that's a bear. A bear was seen roaming in a Pasadena neighborhood Monday evening. The animal tromped along sidewalks and into backyards until a specialized squad captured it at dawn. The bear had been spotted about 7:30 p.m. near Sierra Madre Boulevard, near a golf course.
Someone to read in Spanish. Who can read the text in Spanish quickly? Agustina? I think she left.
No, sorry, I'm here.
Okay.
Sí, es un oso. Un oso fue visto merodeando por Pasadena el lunes por la noche. El animal caminó por las veredas y se metió en los patios traseros hasta que un equipo especializado lo capturó al amanecer. El oso había sido visto por primera vez alrededor de las 7:30 p.m. cerca de Sierra Madre Boulevard, en las proximidades de una cancha de golf.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. At first sight, at first sight, what would you say about the instance in English? What type of case does it illustrate? The animal tromped along sidewalks and into backyards. Think about slobbing, think about ask, and of course, tell me. Well, first of all, is it a case of, what type of proposition is it? Which is the figure and what type of proposition is it?
A non-agentive proposition.
Non-agentive? Why?
For me, it's a self-agentive.
It's self-agentive, even if it's an animal. The animal is animate and moved by itself. The force comes from within.
Okay.
Yes, and Mariana and many have said that that is a journey. Very good. A journey, synonym of journey? Complex?
Complex path.
A complex path, an instance of a complex path. Very good. Now, this journey has been lexicalized in English by means of what? I mean, let's think of the grounds. Can you identify the grounds? Which are the grounds in English?
Sidewalks and backyards.
Excellent. What type of ground is sidewalk?
Medium.
Medium. And backyards?
Goal.
Goal. Excellent. Very good. And this motion event, this journey has been expressed or lexicalized by means of what resource, which is typical of the English language, available in the English language?
Close compacting.
Excellent, Maria Luz. By means of close compacting. And why? Why is it a case of close compacting?
Because there's only one verb and two satellites.
Excellent. Two satellites appended to it. It's only one clause with one finite verb, tromped. What about Spanish? El animal caminó por las veredas y se metió en los patios traseros. What about this journey in Spanish? How has it been realized or expressed?
That would be close chaining.
By means of clause chaining. There are two clauses. Which are the two verbs? Caminó y se metió. But we have the same grounds. Por las veredas, perdón, las veredas. What type of ground?
Medium.
Medium. Y los patios traseros.
Goal.
goal. What about the verb complex in English? What meaning components are expressed there? Conflated or encoded, depending on.
It conflates manner and motion and path.
And path, I mean, the verb complex,
Yes.
yes, conflates path as well. Now, the verb root conflates motion and manner. It's better to say this. In the verb complex, we have the verb root that conflates motion and manner, and path is encoded in the satellite or sat prep.
Sat
Prep, in the sat prep along. Okay. Yes, in the sat prep along. Excellent. What about this sat prep along from the point of view, if we follow ask, what type of sat prep is it? What type of path phrase, rather?
A one-dimensional?
A one-dimensional path phrase. Excellent. But what about into? A two-dimensional path
Because
phrase.
there's
Why
a
is it a
crossing of a
two-dimensional path
boundary
phrase?
from one side to the other could be understood that way.
Excellent. Very, very good. Congratulations. Well, now, let's see what happens in Spanish. El animal caminó por las veredas y se metió en los patios traseros. What can we say about the verb, the second verb in the second clause? How would you analyze the second verb? Y se metió en los patios traseros. Después volvemos.
As a verb of inherent directionality, meterse.
Okay, you could say that. You could say that it has inherent directionality, but there's another meaning component that is very much related to that, but that it's more at stake, more noticeable in this case. Which one is it?
Path.
Path. It's according to ask and also it's ask. What name can this verb have? How can we classify it? Meterse.
Path verb.
Path verb, or there's another name also. Path verb is one, and the other one?
Verb.
No, bare verb, we are going to leave the bare verb for verbs in English. In general, we say fall is a bare verb. A verb, I mean, Marian, I think it's you who said verb.
Yes.
It's not totally wrong, but in general, we speak of a bare verb only when we are analyzing verbs in English. So they are verbs that conflate motion and path, which is not typical of English, but since all typologies leak, it happens, like the verb fall, remember? Because it conflates motion and path and not manner, and that's a bare verb. But in Spanish, most of the verbs would be bare if you want, so we don't use the term bare verb for Spanish, okay? For Spanish, we would say it's a path verb, it's a telic verb. While in Spanish, we speak of telic verbs, most of them, because if they conflate motion and path, they are telic verbs or they are path verbs. In Spanish, we speak of telic path phrases. Okay?
In English.
In
You
English.
said in Spanish, okay.
In English. Okay, good. So, what can you say then about the second verb? Who can attempt a brief analysis? It's a case of lo que acabamos de decir.
¿Puede repetir lo que preguntó?
Analyze it. Julieta, how would you analyze the second verb? What would you say?
¿De ver caminó?
No, the second one. No lo quiero nombrar porque quiero ver cómo lo hace.
Ah, ok.
¿Cuál es? Not caminó, the other one. How would you analyze it?
I was saying about the inherent directionality because of meterse, not because of caminar.
Está bien, por eso analiza el segundo verbo. ¿Qué dirías?
That is a path verb.
Ok, pero ¿qué es un path verb? ¿Qué verbo es un path verb here? Meterse.
A verb in which...
No, lo que yo quiero es que no digan meter, que digan meterse.
Ah, no, meterse, claro, pronominal.
No digan alejar, que
No,
digan
no.
alejarse, porque se los contamos como mal, ¿entienden? Por
Sí,
eso,
sí.
por eso estoy como dando vueltas, no quería decirlo. So,
Meterse.
meterse is a path verb, is a telic verb, ¿ok?
All right.
Now, el animal caminó por las veredas. Would you say that caminar conflates motion and manner? Why not? In this case. Is it the same case as the one we were analyzing about Buckingham Palace, walked around?
I would say that it doesn't encode manner, just motion.
Exactly, because that's why, because it would be the usual way in which an animal moves, especially
But couldn't we say
up there.
But couldn't we say el animal corrió por las veredas, por ejemplo?
Yes, you
O
could.
se arrastró.
You could.
Claro.
Yes, you are right. But in this case, and that's why I wanted to point this out, in this case, you are comparing and contrasting, not with, como en el otro, bordeó el palacio, bordearon el palacio, they walk around. In this case, you are comparing and contrasting, el animal caminó por las veredas, what with? Look at what is the analysis you are making? What is the counterpart you are analyzing?
With trumped long.
With trumped along. You are not contrasting with the animal walked along. If it said the animal walked along the sidewalks and caminó, we could speak of motion and manner because we could say, as you have just very well pointed out a minute ago, the animal, I don't know, ran along or whatever, right? But here we are comparing caminó with trumped along. And trumped is a way of walking, typical of heavy bodies, if you want, is to walk slowly and heavily. And you know that in English, because of the type of language it is, English verbs are very rich as regards conflating motion and manner. So the animal trumped there in this example, with no doubt, we can say that it conflates motion and manner. It's a way of walking, which that manner has not been encoded or expressed in the same way in Spanish. It doesn't say, el animal caminó pesadamente por las veredas. ¿Me siguen a lo que voy?
Sí.
O sea,
Sí.
¿qué les quiero mostrar? Esto que cada caso, o sea, no siempre ustedes van a decir, no es una lista de verbos que siempre son iguales. En algunos casos sí, pero en otros no, como es el verbo caminar. Caminar, en general uno puede decir que no tiene manera because it's the default way in which we move. Do you understand? Es como nos movemos. Vino, mira, ahí viene la profe, por lo general llego caminando. Si me están viendo entrar al aula, ¿no es cierto? ¿Me siguen? Entonces,
Sí, es un poco confuso igual.
no, yo se los quiero mostrar porque yo creo que en este caso no es confuso en el sentido que lo comparo con trumped along. No lo estoy
Claro,
comparando.
en ese caso sí, pero en el caso anterior que habíamos visto con walk, ahí sí es un poco confuso.
Ahí,
El decir que tiene manner, porque para mí eso no tiene manner.
bueno, si vos me hubieras puesto que no tenía manner, ¿sí? No es un error grave. Yo lo hubiera aceptado, pero yo quiero mostrarles por qué les acepté que dijeran que tenían manner. La mayoría puso que tenía manner y yo se lo acepté porque en ese caso el contraste podía ser con todo lo que expliqué. It could be walk around, cycle around, run around, right? So I consider that it was logical what you were saying. Now, maybe, I don't know if I have marked your production or not, maybe if a student wrote that walk only encodes motion and not manner because it's the default way in which we move, I would not have said that that is wrong. Is it clear?
Yes.
But in this case, I would say it's wrong to say that camino conflates motion and manner. In this case, it would be wrong because of the contrast with trompe along. Karen, can you show the model answer? I think it's a model answer. We have it. Abigail Sandoval, can you read?
Yes. Only the answer or the examples? Too.
The answer.
Okay. In both sentences, the figure is self-adjunctive, the animal, y el animal. In English, the intransitive verb tromped completes motion and manner, and path has been lexicalized with the satellite alone, ground, medium, sidewalks, and the sat prep into, ground go, backyards. This is a case of close compacting since there is one motion verb and two satellites. Also, this is a case of telic path phrase since the sat prep into indicates the end location of the figure. In Spanish, the intransitive verb caminó and metió conflate motion and path.
Se metió, debería decir, okay.
Okay, se metió conflate motion and path, and manner has been omitted in this case. This is a case of close chaining since two verbs has been used to indicate motion and path of the figure. The telic verb meter is used in Spanish to indicate the end location of the figure en los patios traseros, ground go. Since Spanish does not have telic path phrases like English, a telic verb phrase has been used. This is an instance of non-correspondence since each language behaves accordingly its typology. English as a satellite frame language and Spanish as a verb frame language.
Okay, this is a very good example from someone who wrote this, right? But I wanted to make sure you don't forget to speak about, after you analyze the telic verb meterceto. Yes. After you make the preliminary analysis, you should also refer to whether the phrases are telic or one-dimensional or two-dimensional, and how telicity is expressed in Spanish and in English. Esta última parte me encanta. Since Spanish does not have telic path phrases like English, a telic verb phrase has been used. Y por eso dice, y esta es la explicación para decir que cada uno behaves according to the typology of the language. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, if there are no questions, this is the end of the class. Any questions? No. Bueno, escuchen. Laura ya les va a dar el assignment para que hagan los análisis. No los manden tarde porque no vamos a recibir por correo electrónico si se cierra la hora. Lo tienen que mandar a la hora que debe ser. Tengan en cuenta todo lo que les he dicho. Y ya les vamos a mandar las instrucciones y dónde pueden ir empezando a buscar textos para el práctico, ¿sí? que los primeros los van a tener en una clase como esta, el viernes 23, va a ser, digamos, en vivo, pero a través de un Meet, debido a que es Semana del Estudiante, ¿sí? Y la clase que viene vamos a empezar con los CES, ¿ok? Así que ya van a ir teniendo todas las indicaciones en el aula virtual. Well, okay, if there are no questions, have a nice
Tengo
weekend.
una preguntita.
Yes.
Creo que entré tarde y no escuché bien si el archivo que enviamos la semana pasada también cuenta para el porcentaje.
No, este cuenta, o sea, sí cuenta, porque tiene que estar hecho. Bueno, ¿querés explicarlo vos, Lau?
Sí, o sea, en realidad sí forma parte de todas las actividades que tienen que hacer, o sea que sí cuenta, pero digamos, no cuenta para las cuatro asignaciones que ustedes tenían que entregar con párrafos para que nosotros les corrigiéramos. O sea, sí va a ser una de las actividades que tienen que entregar, que tienen que estar entregada, pero no va a tener el puntaje que tiene esta y un análisis que van a hacer de C. ¿Se entiende?
Ah, perfecto. Gracias.
Sí, todas las actividades que nosotros le demos en el aula virtual para los promocionales tienen que estar todas hechas. La diferencia es el peso del puntaje que van a tener. Van a tener 2 de producción escrita que van a tener el mayor puntaje del primer cuatrimestre, que era uno de Project Parameter Argument Structure, el otro Evertensis, y de esta etapa, los 2 que más peso van a tener en cuanto al puntaje van a ser el que les voy a asignar hoy, para que entreguen la semana que viene sobre Lexicalization Patterns, y el que hagamos para presentar sobre usos del C. Este que hicieron ahora fue como un warming up, para que empezaran a practicar cómo escribir y demás, pero sí es una actividad que tiene que estar hecha en el aula para los promocionales.
Ah, sí, sí. Bueno, perfecto. Gracias.
¿Ok? De nada.
Ok, bueno. So that's all. ¿Qué debemos hacer para la... ¿Vos estuviste preparando lo de septiembre, Laura, o todavía falta eso?
No, sí, ya tengo todo listo, lo que pasa es que todavía no les asigné lo de los CES. Todo eso les voy a asignar, o sea, hoy voy a mandar para que hagan la asignación esta del Lexicalization Patterns, y ahora de este fin de semana terminamos de organizar toda la carpeta del Drive, y yo el lunes a más tardar ya les mando el enlace por Guaraní para que accedan a la lectura de los usos del CES.
Y a las presentaciones, grabadas, son las presentaciones que hizo la profesora Gómez Calvillo esta vez. Esas son las presentaciones que van a escuchar, ¿sí?
Esas se las puedo dejar habilitadas desde hoy mismo, por si alguien quiere adelantar durante el fin de semana, al menos que vayan escuchando las presentaciones.
Sí, sí.
¿Ok?
Perfecto.
Bueno, todo eso se los aviso por el foro igual, les dejo avisado bien todo.
Ok. Gracias, Laura.
Bye, see you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy that class was
Bye, see you.
Yes, I was
Bye, thank
so
you.
worried.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye, thank you.
Gracias, Karen. Thank you.
Nos vemos. Bye bye.
So helpful.